and welcome to the Naviant webinar, Going Paperless in HR, Best Practices and Benefits for Human Resources. My name is Ed Majeska, and with me is Meryl Weber. Thank you for joining us. We are going to keep it simple today, a quick 30 minutes, pretty much a rapid pace for an overview of HR options, best practices, and benefits. We are going to focus on employee file management, policies and procedures, and onboarding. The possibilities for HR are very broad. They can be exciting, but very overwhelming because OnBase is capable of such a wide range of HR solutions. That employee lifecycle can include file management, which we'll talk about, but also application and resume handling, onboarding, which we'll talk about, forms processing, self-service, reviews, disciplinary, termination, benefit tracking, and again, policies and procedures, which we'll focus on as well today. What we found works best for most organizations is really to start with the basics and expand over time to keep it simple. So we are going to start with employee file management. And in fact, most organizations start with file management to keep it simple by digitizing their employee files, focusing on creating a secure electronic filing cabinet rather than paper forms, documents, filing cabinets, boxes, and email folders. By capturing and centralizing that and then storing that, you can better manage access, compliance, security, and retention. This initial focus, being on capture, storage, and retrieval, can include many different document types, not just paper. It can include forms, emails, faxes, audio, video. OnBase stores all content in its native file format, original files. The benefits are not just improving the file management, but it's really the access and the findability of that content by users, by their managers or supervisors, and the HR team. You can strengthen compliance, automate retention and security. A common question when digitizing employee files is, well, what about our existing paper files? What about all the legacy documents that we have in file folders and boxes and file cabinets? And do I insource or do I outsource? What are my options and what's best? Well, we have a number of customers that insource. They hire temps or interns or use existing staff, and we've helped them get their scanning operation up and running with the correct document types, keywords, the granularity needed, and the scanners themselves to do everything they need in-house. Alternatively, you could outsource. This is where Naviant can assist as well. If you're going to outsource, whether Naviant or not, we recommend that you work with an experienced partner who can assist with these services. There are many options and considerations, including full outsourcing, where that vendor partner does everything. They pick up your documents, they prep them, sort them, scan, index, and export them. Or you could do partial outsourcing, where the prep, which is the majority of the work, is done by your organization, and then scanning and indexing might be outsourced to that partner organization. Key is, once that's done, and all of that content, legacy and day forward, is in OnBase, search can now be managed in a number of different ways. This is an example of the standard OnBase Unity client search. Starting in the top left, you would select your document type group, in this case HR, Human Resources. Next, the specific document type you might be looking for, in this example, HR resume, and then you would enter those search keywords. In this example, you're looking for Jane Harper's resume. Then, once entered, the document or document hit results would instantaneously appear. OnBase also has foldering. While documents in OnBase aren't stored in folders, OnBase provides the ability to have dynamic virtual folders that can replicate the look and feel of your paper files. These can include intuitive folders and tabs, color-coded on the right, the identification of documents that are related in that set of documents, and it can also identify missing documents at the employee level. OnBase reporting or workflow can also be used to report on missing documents across the population of users or document types. OnBase can also retrieve documents directly from your HR system screens with no IT changes to your HR application. This is an example of a Microsoft Dynamics screen. Through a mouse click, keystroke, or a floating button, retrieval from OnBase can provide a document, a set of documents, or the same foldering view that we just showed. Also new in OnBase 16 is Application Enabler Connector. Connector can add a custom button or a hyperlink to call application enabler functionality without any screen scraping, giving you and your IT group greater integration flexibility. Outlook is another valuable retrieval method. OnBase can provide a tab in your Outlook ribbon bar to access most of the OnBase capabilities that you would use regularly, such as custom queries, document retrieval, foldering, uploading an email, uploading a document from file, workflow, or in this example, electronic forms such as a benefit change request. You can also easily extend OnBase to your mobile devices, to those users that need remote access to document searches, workflow approvals, electronic forms, or document upload. Next, let's talk about policies and procedures. This is also a very common item used by HR due to the vast amount of policies and procedures that need to be created, revised, managed, and shared. Typically, without OnBase, everything is manual. There's no central location for policies, and perhaps there's even shadow policies that exist in multiple places in the organization. Policies are distributed manually, the creation and editing is clumsy, and signed policies are kept in a secure folder that employees can't access. And tracking and follow-ups are manual and time-consuming. This is where OnBase can really help. The OnBase Policies and Procedures solution can be broken up into two main parts, pre-distribution and distribution. Moving from the bottom left clockwise, the pre-distribution stage is where companies typically leverage workflow to manage the review and approval process, including revision and version control. OnBase can also connect directly to Word to manage the documents, which can be especially helpful when creating or revising new policies. Once the policy is approved, HR can manage distribution, acknowledgement and distribution to the entire company or a group at one time. And this is typically done through OnBase Document Knowledge Transfer. I'll talk about Document Knowledge Transfer more in a minute, but essentially OnBase will initiate an email notification to each assigned employee. Once that notification is received, he or she can read the policy and acknowledge that it's been read. And then OnBase can also test employees' comprehension as well. The acknowledgement is then stored, and the employee maintains a personal reading group library for future reference, and HR can also manage and report on these acknowledgements. Here's an example of OnBase Document Knowledge Transfer. On the left, the status of documents, acknowledged, not viewed, overdue in that employee's queue. Then by clicking on a document, the policy, in this case an employee handbook, opens and the employee has tasks available to them, such as acknowledge, reject, etc. Once they've approved that policy, OnBase provides an option to authenticate the approval with password protection to assure that they actually were the ones that approved it. And as I mentioned earlier, after acknowledgement, OnBase can test reading comprehension through a series of questions such as true, false, multiple choice, multiple select, even essay questions. And to support audit and compliance, OnBase provides many reporting options, including scoring reports and acknowledgement and delinquency reports. So let's keep moving and talk about the third item, employee onboarding. Companies have a very short window to convince new hires to stay. 33% of new hires know whether they'll stay at a company after just 1 week on the job, and 63% know within the first month. And the cost of retaining an employee is extremely high. Their seat stays empty for an average of 63 days. It can take 8 months for the next new hire to reach full productivity, and the company can spend 16 to 20% of an employee's annual salary trying to replace them. OnBase onboarding gives your new hires the right first impression, especially today's workers that expect information access quickly. But there's 3 things that make it difficult for HR managers: limited visibility, lost efficiency, and poor control. OnBase provides efficient capture and visibility of forms, documents, and processes, so from day one, new employees feel comfortable and prepared to do their jobs, including a positive first experience with the new organization. Once captured, HR content is centrally organized with minimal human intervention. Working efficiently is also improved so that repetitive steps, such as creating folders, filing documents, assigning and following up on tasks, are all automated. For example, after HR receives a signed offer letter, OnBase can automatically generate multiple checklists and notifications based on the new employee's specific role. And the entire time, the organization maintains control through granular security to assure documents, data, and processes are only available to the appropriate people. In fact, 30% of all data breaches in manual paper-based processes occur as the result of employee error. A common onboarding goal for many organizations is automating the completion of new hire paperwork before the employee starts on day one. It can actually be a simple process with OnBase. After offer acceptance, the new employee receives an automated email from OnBase letting them know that they need to access and complete their paperwork prior to their first day. And this can be done in a couple of ways. If your company has an HR portal, OnBase capabilities can be embedded directly into that portal, and then OnBase can direct the employee to log in online and access and complete their new hire paperwork, even before they're officially an employee of the company. Or, increasingly common in the past year, OnBase ShareBase can be used. OnBase ShareBase is an enterprise cloud-based file sync and share offering hosted in the Highland Cloud. It essentially extends your existing OnBase solution to automatically add documents, share documents, notifications to recipients. It can be password protected with expiration dates, and then those documents can be automatically imported and indexed directly into OnBase. ShareBase provides unlimited sharing of files both inside and outside your organization, in this case for new hires, while you can retain corporate control of all those documents. Using ShareBase, the employee similarly receives an email, but this time with a link to the secure ShareBase location to complete their paperwork. Once the paperwork is completed, the forms automatically re-enter OnBase and re-enter workflow if appropriate. And once in OnBase, you can then manage the entire onboarding process through workflow, or OnBase WorkView case management could be used to track lifecycle status and tasks. OnBase WorkView can provide a 360-degree view of employee engagement, including management of documents, process status, checklists, and other discrete data. Workflow can also send email notifications of WorkView task assignments and approvals with task completion status. And it can provide dynamic reporting visibility for management metrics and key performance indicators. Now that we've reviewed a few of these common HR capabilities, I'd like to hand it off to Meryl to discuss a few benefits.
Thank you very much, Ed. So let's go ahead and dig into topic 4 to briefly discuss a few benefits that OnBase provides. So I'm going to start with disaster recovery. This is an actual photo from one of our customers. They commented, "When I first got this job, I worried about fires in storage rooms destroying our HR documents. But back in September 2013, during Community Live, the 100-year floods hit. The creek next to where our employee files used to be stored in the basement flooded and threatened the building. We didn't have to worry though, since all the employee files were now on our OnBase servers in a different city and backed up at another off-site location." So why is it important to prepare for a disaster? Well, by eliminating paper storage, you can restore documents quickly and easily, therefore reducing downtime. You can also reduce the costs and delays associated with the need to rescan and re-index documents. And in the event of a disaster, easily transfer documents between OnBase systems to ensure document availability. And as part of your standard OnBase license agreement, you can have a completely replicated system for disaster recovery and other non-production environments for zero software cost. Another important benefit is audit preparedness. We've all received that dreaded audit email. Here's an example. What usually happens after receiving this email is the dreaded audit. We freak out and run around. We're looking for files, looking for emails, digging through boxes, and losing sleep. So preparation for an audit is key. You need to think through audit search options and reporting first and foremost. Search options can include full text search or custom queries to simplify document searches for auditors. Typically, identifying missing documents is key to an auditor, and this can be accomplished through OnBase exception reports, which I'll talk about in a minute. Additionally, only giving the auditor access to what they need is very important. That might be by providing them security access to only specific document types, or providing them a local runtime version of OnBase with those audit documents on a CD or DVD. Auditor searching is also very important. Here's an example of an easy-to-use Google-esque search within OnBase using custom queries. It allows the ability to search documents or groups of documents very quickly. Then what we're seeing on this screen here is the ability to search for a group of documents and then sort them by employee ID. So once you have a group of documents you're looking for, your system can also provide the ability to quickly export data for auditor reporting. For ease of use, OnBase integrates with both Outlook and Office. To give you an example, this report shown on the screen was exported to Excel. As I referenced a moment ago, OnBase can report on missing documents. OnBase provides the capability to identify a missing document type, for instance an I-9, or a group of document types, like new hire paperwork. Auditors typically ask to see individual documents for further review. OnBase has the ability to dynamically create folders. Users can then drag and drop documents into those folders. For example, an auditor might request a certain set of documents for one employee ID. So you can quickly search for that group of documents, create a folder for that employee ID, and then drag and drop those documents into that folder. This will also include a full audit trail on each document. Another very important benefit is I-9 compliance. So employee audits by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services continue to rise. According to the Society for Human Resource Management, there's been a drastic increase in I-9 audits, from 3 back in 2004 to more than 3,000 in 2012. That's almost 100,000% increase. Shown here are a few of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services guidelines for storing I-9 forms. These guidelines include a detailed index of data, ensure an audit trail is available, and include security controls. And all these guidelines are managed through OnBase reporting, history, and security and permissions. Shown here is a set of documents. As you can see at the bottom left, the I-9 form is in red because OnBase recognizes the document is missing. As mentioned earlier, these search, retrieval, and reporting and missing documents are native OnBase capabilities. Finally, security is a benefit that cannot be overlooked. In fact, security questions are usually one of the first things we hear from HR professionals. And these are all managed natively through OnBase user rights and permissions. We typically recommend that you start with an audit of your documents and forms and consider who you allow access. Think about what document types and folders do you want your staff to be able to see. What items are visible to them through search capabilities? Think about notes, document history, specific workflow tasks. Does anything need to be restricted to only specific users? Once you've determined what your staff can see, then we need to consider what you want your staff to be able to do. So think about permissions. Think about creating and approving items, or who can rename items, manage updates and revisions, the ability to delete items, email, add notes to documents. These are also managed through OnBase user permissions. And finally, there's the important need to manage reporting of this security. Be able to document every action taken on those documents to not only hold your staff accountable, but also ensure preparedness in the event of an audit. All of this is managed through document history, workflow history, and OnBase reporting. So as we wrap up our session today, we wanted to leave you with a few final thoughts. Where to begin? First, consider your inventory of content. We recommend you start with a list, all the paper and content you have. Think of what you would call each piece, keywords that come to mind. Who do you want to have access to each of those documents? And is there anything special about that document? And then next, consider your processes and priorities. Think about approvals, exceptions, any timing for particular documents. Think about those quick wins, maybe the highest volume documents or the largest time investment. Or think about what really is the biggest pain that you would like to solve. And finally, what improvements can be made to your current processes. Consider your people, their responsibilities, and their permissions. Who do you want to have the ability to scan and index? Who are your approvers? Think about modifying and deleting items, retrieving items. Who's responsible for that? Who has reporting ability? Once you understand these items, you'll be in a much better position to understand what are the technology parts and pieces needed for your project. If you want more information, please visit our website at www.naviant.com. There's a ton of great information on the HR topics we've discussed today, as well as information for other departments and other OnBase capabilities. If you haven't already marked your calendars, please plan on joining us at our annual summit in October at the Potawatomi Hotel and Casino in Milwaukee. This event is complimentary to all current customers and invited guests. We only ask that you please pre-register on our website. And to finish up, there's a few closing reminders. Our marketing team will be sending out a copy of this presentation to all attendees. And secondly, we will also be sending out a ShareBase link to this OnBase workbook shown how to extend OnBase into HR. The workbook has various sections for the various capabilities such as capture, workflow, integration, retrieval, security, etc. And then each section will walk you through some questions and diagrams to help you on your path to becoming paperless. So thank you again for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out to either Ed or myself directly with any questions at any time. We do have a few minutes left here. If anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask right now, just go ahead and type those questions in and we will be happy to answer them. So I'll give you just a minute or two, see if anything comes through. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions at this time. So thank you again for joining us and have a great rest of your day.